Hey everybody, welcome to Tempethon, and it is World Tempe Month in June, and we're celebrating by this fabulous conference that we've been working on with the Tempe movement from Indonesia. And I want to introduce my co-host today, which is Mel Edwards. Hey Mel.
Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining us for Tempethon today. We're so excited that you're here with us. My name is Melania Edwards, and I'm the founder of the Tropical Kitchen, the world's first plant-based Indonesian cookbook. I really believe that tempeh is a superfood, and it's going to be the next big thing in plant-based products. I'm so proud of my Indonesian heritage, and so I'm excited to share the incredible benefits of tempeh with you in tonight's session. I'm excited to be partnering with the Indonesian tempeh movement today to share Indonesia's best kept food secrets. So I'm sure Seth is going to be sharing a little bit more about the Indonesian tempeh movement.
Yeah, thanks, Mel. The Indonesian Tempe movement is a new nonprofit that we have in the US. It's a 501c3, but it was started in Indonesia by this family of tempeh makers called the Winarno family, who live outside of Jakarta, which is the capital of Indonesia. And they have converted their house into what's called the Tempe Temple. And at the Tempe Temple, there is Professor Winarno, who is the grandfather, and he is in his 80s. He looks like he's maybe 50, and he's been eating tempeh all his life. He's one of the world's most foremost tempeh researchers. And there's also Wida, who is the daughter of Professor Winarno, and she is an amazing woman that goes all over Indonesia and talks about tempeh to different groups, including she goes to the prisons in Jakarta and gets the prisoners making tempeh, which is amazing. She's working to alleviate a phenomenon called stunting, which affects 1/3 of Indonesia's children. And if they don't get enough protein, or they have poor sanitation where they live, and it prevents them from fully developing to their health and their height and weight. So she's an amazing woman, and she is the mother of Ando, who is a new PhD recipient 1 year ago from UMass in Amherst. And he is the real soul of the movement right now. And he's put all of this together. And, you know, you think of PhDs as being sort of dry and everything. He's not dry at all. He's a lively person. And we're going to hear more about his incredible mission today on Ando's. He's presented a slideshow for us. So without further ado, let's look at Ando and the Tempe movement from Indonesia, which is an amazing group.
Hey everyone, welcome to Tempethon, the world's first Tempe virtual conference. We're also celebrating this World Tempe Month, and we've seen great new Tempe products, great Tempe initiatives for the sake of sustainability, health, and affordability of foods from all around the world. So we're going to kick off this whole Tempethon thing today by hitting all of the topics that we'll discuss in the Tempethon. Either it's, again, with health and fitness, we got entrepreneurship, innovation, we have cooking, and of course, fermenting. All right, so all this Tempe frenzy, in a good way, started from something personal, actually. So in 2014, I was a student. I was struck by these life meaning questions. That is about, why my life? What do I live for? How could I leave a mark? And what's my very own mission? I saw myself as just a speck in this vast galaxy, and that made me unable to fall asleep at night. I saw myself just one out of these millions of people around me. But meanwhile, their sufferings, can't I do anything? What should I do before new babies will be born and my lifetime will be over, my opportunity? So I simply Googled it and how to find life mission. And I got this Ikigai chart aligning something that I like and good at, what the world needs, and how I could make a living from. Well, I tried different things like sports and music and arts, but science hits me differently. It hits all of these circles. But at the same time, my grandpa told me that everything happens for a reason. So I started asking why for every single thing in my life. Why was I born as Indonesian, male? I like to eat, I like to travel, I like to do arts, always ambitious. Why was I born as the grandson of the father of food science and technology in Indonesia? So by connecting these dots, that led me to this Indonesian food biotechnology. It sounds fancy, but the manifestation of it might not sound as fancy as it seems. So I was lucky because in 2016, I traveled to the eastern part of Indonesia, Raja Ampat, Sawingrai village. I befriended with these amazing children as I went over there every other year and learned that probably making the world a better place is not a cliche anymore. I met with this inspiring kid, a great leadership ability that made me think that if the world has local leaders like him, and we can help them to achieve those potentials, we can make the world a better place. But then it came to the hard realization that most of them actually suffered from protein allergy malnutrition. So I thought, what could I help as a food biotechnology enthusiast to do this course? So at the same time, interestingly, I was obsessed with bodybuilding. I want that six-pack and I want those big muscles and low-fat content of my body. I tried different sources of protein, but eating meat, whey protein, egg, milk either left me bloated or financially broke. So I did scientific literature study, and to my surprise, Tempe turned out to be a good source of protein. Well, Tempe has been around for more than 400 years. It was first found in a tiny village where my grandfather was born in, actually, Cata, Central Java. And Tempe's been on my dining table in many various traditional recipes, mostly, that I would never get bored of. And the more I look at the literature, the more I got surprised because, so this has been combined with the so-called Tempe Bible, a review paper that I published this year with my advisors from my PhD dissertation. So nutritionally, you can see that Tempe contains similar amounts of energy and protein compared to beef, but with much lower saturated fat content, much higher fiber content, much higher calcium content, much lower sodium content, similar iron content, and Tempe can contain vitamin B12 that I thought only present in animal-derived products. And in terms of sustainability, if you look at how much protein we can produce for every unit of energy, here you can see that beef can produce 4.4 grams of protein per megajoule, while Tempe can produce 17 grams of protein. That is about 4 times more energy efficient. And now in terms of emission, so beef can produce 7.1 grams of protein. Tempe can produce almost 160 grams of protein. That is almost 20 times more emission efficient. My mind was blown, and I thought this is such a hidden treasure from Indonesia for the world, just because if we develop Tempe accordingly, we can probably tackle these global issues like protein allergy, malnutrition, the #1 killer of cardiovascular health disease, and the greenhouse gases that contribute to the climate crisis. And so I got this ikigai, I got my emotional why, and I got this passion for these particular food. So I began telling people about these facts, but many of them didn't actually believe, just because there's this severe negative stigma around Tempe in Indonesia. So our first president said that don't be a Tempe nation. Well, it makes sense just because the old way to make Tempe is by using your feet to stomp and peel the bean skins. But now with the new scientific facts about Tempe, let's be a Tempe nation. Tempe is healthy, sustainable, and affordable food. So it all began at one dining table, one dinner discussion with my grandpa and my mom. Thought we needed to do something about this Tempe facts. Probably an international conference on Tempe would do. So on February 2015, we conducted this conference, a huge success, but we still saw it as just the tip of the iceberg. We still need to dig more. So with all this piling new facts about tempe potential, for example, as an art, as something that we can innovate on. This should not be bound within the scientific field itself. So we created the Indonesian tempe movement, serving like a sandbox for people to collaborate and create beautiful sandcastles to get people's attention towards the values of health, sustainability, and affordability. As people enjoy looking at these beautiful sandcastles, they realize or not, they would benefit from it. Making something good, giving myself a life mission, probably. We started using this Instagram and Facebook account. I myself experimented on myself using Tempe as my bodybuilding regime. And many more people join now. You can't imagine these kind of bodybuilding attempts being done by professionals. We also made infographics, some educational videos. Without us realizing it now, we have collaborated with 14 countries through different activities, like teaching school kids and coming to jails. My mom taught the inmates how to produce their own foods and sell them outside. And also these many food diplomacy events all around the world. The Tempe Movement USA is sprouting strongly now as a non-profit organization. And it all stems from these nerdy and close family relationships. So as many people enjoy the Tempe movement, there's still one thing that I think not many people realize, is that Tempe is not just a food. Tempe can be seen as a process. So there have been 21 different ingredients researched in the forms of Tempe. And I saw evidence about this. For example, white bean Tempe burger in Brazil. We have this fava bean wat in Ethiopia. We have buckwheat Tempe soba noodle in Japan. We have this common bean weaning food in Tanzania. We have lupine Tempe as vegan meats in Europe. We have hemp-seed Tempe burgers in the US. So interestingly, with all these different ingredients way to serve it, there's been consistent beneficial effects of the fermentation process itself. It reduces the fat content, has to do with salt, carbohydrate as well, increases the fiber content, the mineral content as well, antioxidants, paraprobiotics, so it's like dead probiotics, but still give you beneficial health effects, just like vaccine. And also vitamin B12, reducing phytic acid, these natural toxins and natural allergens that we don't want to be in our food. It also vegan-friendly, gluten-free, kosher, and halal. It's all about inclusivity and accessibility. Well, now we got a special case in Molo, Nusa Tenggara Timur, Sunda, our friend. So on the left, you will see a rice bean Tempe. I didn't know there's rice bean, new crops. And on the right, you would see this lima beans that people usually need to boil it for 12 times to remove this natural toxin. Now, can you imagine with this type of fermentation, we can explore new ways to enjoy new crops, making it more edible, food safe, and healthy. With these facts, I would like to invite you, before I end this talk, to imagine. Have you ever thought of how these crazy popular foods like burgers and pizzas travel to all corners of the world? Well, interestingly, that happened through a crisis, the World War II. Now, speaking of crisis, we've never been in a more serious crisis than what we are in now, the climate crisis. This is just timely because Tempe can be Indonesia's best kept food secret for producing healthy, sustainable, affordable, and delicious foods by utilizing local crops from around the world. This is a revolution, and I hope you can join the movement. So we will kickstart this movement with this Tempethon and onwards, and we look forward to seeing your Tempe creations. Thank you.
Wow, what an incredible and inspiring story from Ando today. So let's recap how we're celebrating this weekend. Tempethon 2021 is a marathon of the human stories behind Tempe from all around the world. So far this weekend, we've heard the fascinating story of the Indonesian Tempe movement, how Tempe can be a game changer for your health and fitness, insights from the top diplomats, and much, much more. The goal of Tempethon 2021 is to showcase tempeh to the world. We believe it's one of Indonesia's best kept food secrets, and so we want to share it with you today. We have a really packed agenda and some incredible speakers today. So Seth, could you share some more about the logistics and speakers for the sessions?
Yeah, sure. So we have two basic sessions here. One is the innovation panel, which will be happening shortly. And that is, we've got collaborators from all sorts of places all over the world and all different sizes of businesses. You know, some of the most innovative projects that we're seeing come from these startups that are just getting going, and they see things that aren't being done, and they have the great sense to know how to do them. So we're going to spotlight some of the smaller startups, but we're also spotlighting some of the true innovations and great things that are happening from large companies that are investing millions of dollars in tempeh. And we have Stephen Dupuis from Planit Protein, who is going to tell us about his fabulous incubators that you can buy and make tempeh right in your home without plastic bags, which is a real innovation. We also have Elin Roberts from Better Nature over there in the UK, that is this edgy UK startup that Ando is actually part of too, that you just saw. We have Stem Kent, who has got these crazy good protein bites that are like a snack food that makes you just want to nom, 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 take them anywhere you go. We have John Westdahl, who is a Portland-based non-soy tempeh maker that is really innovative, and he's like one of the leaders in this whole movement of making tempeh from other beans and grains, which is one of the cool things about tempeh. You can make it out of just about anything. And then we have Dan Curtin from Lightlife. He's the CEO of Greenleaf Foods, and he is building this $100 million tempeh plant. There's going to be state-of-the-art tempeh plant in Indiana. So we're very excited for that. And then we're going to be showing a video of Hank Schuten, who is from Schuten Foods. He's a Dutch tempeh maker who plans to put in 100 small local tempeh shops all over India. And it's just a really fabulous panel. We'll finish it off with this incredible historic video that you don't want to miss, that is like a commercial for tempeh that I think is going to really wow everybody. And then we will turn it over to Mel and her cooking session. Mel, do you want to talk about your cooks?
Yeah, absolutely. We have some phenomenal chefs from all around the world. We have someone from the US, JL Fields, who is an incredible vegan chef. Cata Vallejo from Ecuador, and so excited about her recipes today. And we even have a celebrity chef experience from Miyoko Schinner of Miyoko's Creamery, who's kindly prepared a video for us today. So really, really excited about that. And we'll share more details as we enter the latter half of the session. So we really hope that you have fun during today's Tempethon session. That's one of our key goals. And after the conference, we're going to be sharing some more details on how to purchase some tempeh kits, as well as sharing recipe cards from all the amazing chefs that are going to be presenting today so that you can try the recipes out at home. And be sure to stay until the end of the session today, because we'll be doing a prize draw to win the Tempeh Cookbook by Dorothy R. Bates, as well as a signed copy of Seth's amazing book, In Search of the Wild Tofurky, and also more details about how you can get more involved with tempeh and the Indonesian tempeh movement. So now I'm going to hand you back over to Seth for the next session.
All right. So be sure, and if you have questions that come up, there's a Q&A chat down below. So pop your questions in there and we'll be answering them as we can. And I want to say that this whole session is going to be recorded and posted on YouTube. So if you want to see more of it, or if you didn't get some of the facts from the slides, you can get that there, and we'll be sending out that link as it becomes available next week. All right, so I want to introduce a friend of mine who is the co-founder of Tempeh Movement USA, And this is Mike Hillis. And Mike is going to show us a quick section on the history of Tempe and in Indonesia. And Mike has brought his cultural anthropology background, sense of adventure, and love for the ocean to Indonesia for the first time 25 years ago. Marrying his Indonesian wife Priska in 1998 and starting a family, Mike has a deep passion for the history, the fascinating cultural mosaic, and most importantly, a deep respect for the warm spirit and genuine hospitality of the people of this extraordinary nation. So please welcome Mike Hillis. And Mike, you're on now. Let's see your slides.
Thank you very much, Seth. Good morning from Oregon. As Seth mentioned, I'm Mike Hillis, and as an American with over 25 years experience traveling through the extraordinary archipelago nation, I'm here to share a little bit of my perspective on the rich history, wonderful people, and the stunning natural world of Indonesia, spanning from Sumatra to Papua, and from the Indian to the Pacific Oceans. It all starts with nutmeg, cloves, Spice Island sultans, European ambition, rivalry, and ultimately greed. After nearly a century of intense competition between Portugal, Spain, and England to control the spice trade, the Dutch East India Company prevailed and became the world's most powerful corporation of the 17th century. Nutmeg was actually so valuable that England and Holland traded Manhattan for a small island in what is now the Maluku Islands of Indonesia. In 1945, finally, after 3.5 centuries, the people declared independence from the Netherlands and became the Republic of Indonesia. Pancasila, or also known as the Five Principles, became the foundational philosophy of the new nation. The nation's founders, pictured at the top of this page, had a strong belief in religious pluralism and celebrating diversity, which reflects the deep multicultural fabric of this new island nation. The Indonesian people endured much hardship during colonial times, yet they developed many local strategies for restoring peace after wars or natural disasters. Traditions such as Pela Gandong from the Maluku Islands have brought Muslims and Christians together to keep their village relationships strong for nearly 5 centuries. Terrorism 4 centuries ago in Indonesia was directly related to the eventual monopoly of the European spice trade. Yet the Indonesian people have survived with a strong and compassionate spirit intact. Surfing world-class waves along thousands of miles of beautiful beaches, exploring old growth rainforests, looking for the mystical birds of paradise in Papua, walking deserted beaches on the islands of Sulawesi, Halmahera, or the south coast of Java, and hiking up to the mystical lakes of Kelimutu at sunrise on Flores Island. These are just a few of the amazing moments the traveler to Indonesia can experience. Even if you only see 1% of Indonesia's 17,000 plus islands, that could take a lifetime. Take a deep breath. It's impossible to have a boring day in this country. Experiencing rural village life in Indonesia is beyond description. The kids in the lower left photo are a perfect example of enthusiastic 8-year-old tour guides who are always ready to have fun, practice a new language, and share their laughter with their guests. If you don't need an abundance of privacy and want to improve upon your spontaneous theatrical skills, Indonesian village life is for you. These people are hardworking, humble, and show amazing hospitality to those who visit. Composed of over 17,000 islands, it's a stretch to say Indonesian food is the same in Sumatra as it is in Timor. While Indonesian food has remained below the global media radar over the last few years, that's starting to quickly change. Chefs like Gordon Ramsay, who's put his spin on the classic beef curry dish rendang, is a great example. For the Winarno family, encouraging new cultural perspectives on the importance of tempeh to the Indonesian nation cannot be understated. Tempeh is not only a superfood, it is a survival food, and it is a gift to the world. Indonesia matters for plenty of reasons. It's the 4th largest nation on the planet, 3rd largest democracy. The old growth rainforests in Indonesia are the lungs of the planet now, especially as the Amazon burns out of control. However, its most valuable natural resource is the spirit of the people. Terima kasih, thank you. Be sure to go to the Tempe Movement YouTube channel in the next several days to see all the other great videos during Tempethon. If you have time or interest, you can also check out the links listed on this page, connected to much of the content you've just heard. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Very interesting. We are now going to move to the innovation panel, and this is what we'll do. We're going to have 5-minute talks by every one of these innovators, and at the end of all of the 5-minute talks, we're going to open up the panel for questions. So if something comes up while you're hearing one of these speakers talk, please put it in the Q&A and we'll try and address that. All right, I am going to now introduce to you Stephen Dupuis, who is a longtime friend of mine and an incredible Tempe advocate. And he has been working on a project for 8 years about creating these incredible Tempe incubators that can make beautiful Tempe without plastic, because I know a lot of people have concerns about plastic. You know, a lot of the Tempe in Indonesia is still made in banana leaves and not plastic. But Stephen is the founder of Planit Protein, and that's spelled Planit, not ET. Which formerly was known as Temperature, which grew out of his passion for Tempe. Says, my role is Chief Visionary Officer and Tempe developer. The business was started 8 years ago when we saw the production challenges with this amazing food and sought to create better solutions. We developed safe starter culture and an efficient incubator called the Planit Pod for commercial kitchens. So please welcome Stephen Dupuis.
Thank you, Seth. You actually just did my 5-minute speech there. Thanks. So yeah, like Seth said, I'm the founder, or one of the founders of Planit Protein. And are you, yeah, okay. Planit Protein, which was 8 years ago, which I'm kind of like shocked that it's taken us this long. And I think when you do any startup, a lot of times you don't realize how long it's going to take. And if someone told you that, you probably wouldn't do it. So really, like Seth said, it grew out of our passion for Tempe. My wife cooked with Tempe, made all kinds of dishes to the point where she realized one of the challenges with Tempe that is cooking with it, meaning that a lot of people are intimidated by it. So she started a website called Tempe Girls, and put all these different recipes on it. She found other women and men that posted and put up different recipes. And so we could really get people to be comfortable with Tempe. And through the Tempe Girls website, we actually, Betsy and Gunther reached out to us, and they've been making Tempe for decades up in Michigan. And they had moved to just outside of Ventura, where we are, Ventura, California. And they reached out and said, hey, we've got some invention we'd like to show it to you. So we came over there and they served us lunch. And first, Gunther took us to the back room, and he had a plywood type contraption box with written on it was Betsy and Gunther's incubator, and it had a tie-dye peace sign on the top of it. And he had wires hanging out, went to different devices, electronics, and he pulled out this amazing Tempe that was on a metal pan, by the way. So it was not in a plastic bag. And, you know, as Seth likes to say, it was free range tempeh. You're just letting the tempeh grow freely, not confined in a plastic bag. It was pure white, and it came out of this plywood box in perfection, and it was fresh, and it tasted amazing. And both Betsy and Gunther in their 80s was saying, hey, we can't commercialize this. We don't know how. And lo and behold, we didn't really know how either, but we took on the challenge. And so it literally 3 iterations later, we're actually in the 4th now, but this is the 3rd that's sitting next to me. And so not only when we got into this challenge was the incubator itself and the fact that Betsy's and Gunther's did not pasteurize. So you couldn't pasteurize with plywood, nor was it food safe. So we had to go ahead and develop the whole system. We also realized we had to develop our own culture. So that's when we started, which we do sell that on Planit Protein. And the reason we actually changed to Planit Protein from Tempe Sure was we realized that this whole platform is pretty expandable, meaning that you can make all different types of tempeh with different types of beans. But you can also get into, with our exploration, we go, oh my gosh, we can make plant-based burgers. We can make plant-based eggs. So we've got the mock meat side of things. Then we've got koji. We've got plant-based, or you can do nut cheeses. You can do yogurts. So it becomes a fermentation platform. And so we finally found a manufacturer. Waring is actually bringing this to market. It's going to market next year. It is going to be their main launch next year. And they will be doing it as a commercial launch first. And so these are sold as towers, or they can be sold as individual. They do up to 6 to 8 pounds per unit, depending on the thickness of the tempeh. And what we can do is actually run that little video. It's a little short video that just kind of shows how it actually works. Mel? Great, thank you, Mel. One of the things I want to bring up is this is one of the pain points we found is just in manufacturing. So many tempeh makers that we actually, artisan makers that we met around, literally around the world, they were saying they had problems making the tempeh in a commercial kitchen. This will be food safe approved so that it's NSF approved. You could be in a shared kitchen and actually make all different types of tempeh or plant protein. So what our goal is hopefully opening this up to the whole artisan market. All right.
Wow. Thanks, Stephen. I can't tell you how innovative this is, you know, and all of the days and nights that we've spent here trying to think, how can we get out of this plastic situation with making tempeh? So this is such a great innovation. And I can't wait to get my hands on one. You said that these pods will be available in the fall, you think, for sale?
It'll be probably the 2nd quarter of next year. However, the first batch, which is Waring Commercial is the one making it, the first batch are those that did our Kickstarter. I mean, our poor Kickstarter have waited 5 years. And so I think, Seth, you're one of those. So you're getting one. So they're making a special batch just for the Kickstarter prior to launch. So,
I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready. Oh, great. Thank you so much. And by the way, the starter is awesome too. If you're looking for a good source of tempeh starter, planitprotein.com is the place to go. And we're using them in our tempeh kits that we're going to be starting to market shortly. And we'll tell you more about that later in the show. Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have from the United Kingdom, Elin Roberts. And Elin is a co-founder and head of marketing at the innovative UK meat-free brand Better Nature. Better Nature creates protein without compromise, naturally delicious meat alternatives that don't compromise on people, the planet, or animals using tempeh. A longtime advocate for plant-based eating, Elin's background is in psychology and marketing strategy, and her mission is to create a fair, happier, and more sustainable world for all. So Elin, take it away.
Thank you so much, Seth. It's such a pleasure to be here. And so interesting to hear about what Stephen was saying as well. I'm definitely keen to get my hands on one of them when I can. So yeah, I'm Elin. I'm a co-founder and head of marketing at Better Nature, which, as Seth mentioned earlier, is a startup that actually I set up with the amazing Ando, who you heard speak earlier, as well as 2 others. And we are based in the UK. So yeah, I'll give a little background about myself, I guess, and my experience with tempeh. I think my journey with tempeh started about 5 years ago. And I basically tried tempeh at a local market. And I'm very ashamed to say now that I didn't actually like it very much. But wait, don't judge me too much. Actually, I don't think they didn't cook it very well. And I think it had been soaked in the sauce for quite a long time. And I think this is actually something that we can all just agree on, and so definitely something that we've thought a lot about at Better Nature is sort of how tempeh is initially given to people. And I think there's a lot of kind of similar what Stephen was saying earlier, a lot of times people don't really know how to cook with it. And I think that's what's so amazing about having something like a Tempethon where people actually talk about it. And I'm super excited to see the cooking classes later and to get people to really understand how to cook with this incredible food. But anyway, yeah, I just thought, okay, maybe it's just not to my taste, and I kind of dropped it. And having been vegan for a long time, I was a bit sad because I'd heard quite good things about it, but I thought, okay, whatever, I'll stick to my tofu for now. And then a couple of years later, one of my friends from uni, Chris, I was chatting to him, and I've just never seen someone so excited about something before. And basically he'd met Ando at a conference, and Ando had shared the story of tempeh with him basically. And he just couldn't get over how amazing it was. And I literally started that conversation thinking, oh, tempeh's not for me, and ended it thinking, I have to go get myself some tempeh now. I've obviously totally misjudged this food, and I need to get on that tempeh train. So that's kind of what I did. And I went and tried some tempeh, cooked it properly myself, and loved it. So that's a tip for anyone out there that maybe didn't have the best first experience with tempeh. Definitely don't quit on it now. And then, yeah, got really into cooking with tempeh and was just so excited about this cool food, and then kind of got chatting to Chris more, and him and Ando were thinking, along with our friend Fabio, was thinking about setting up a business around tempeh. And at the time I was working in an agency and really enjoying my job, kind of thinking, oh, I'd quite like to do something that's a bit more aligned to my values. And this kind of came around where they said, do you want to join us and kind of head up the marketing side of this tempeh business? And I thought, well, why not? I couldn't really think of anything better. I love food, and at that point I love tempeh, and so it kind of just felt like it was meant to be. It all was just a bit of a chance conversation that got me so excited about tempeh. So then we set up Better Nature together, and soon after that we went on a trip to Indonesia, and I got to try fresh tempeh for the first time, which was as incredible as everyone says it is. I got to meet Ando properly and his wonderful family, who you've heard all about. And just learn a lot more about Indonesian culture and just how rich it is, and their love for tempeh and how important tempeh is to them. And that was a really, really memorable experience, and got to have like 8-course meals that were all had a component of tempeh in them, and finish off with tempeh ice cream, would you believe? So I knew I was onto something very exciting. And since then, I think tempeh has continued to amaze me and been, yeah, I think it's just one of the most amazing foods out there. And I feel very privileged that I get to work with it every day, and that I get to bring sort of the joy of tempeh to people in the UK and hopefully beyond as well. So at Better Nature, we've been doing lots of exciting work with tempeh. So Ando and his team in Bogor are heading up some R&D in tempeh, where they have been enhancing its nutritional properties, including its natural vitamin B12 content, vitamin D content. They've even turned it into a protein powder and tried different applications around that. So yeah, it's been really exciting to see all the things that tempeh can become. And I think it just shows that it's definitely a food for the future. So yeah, I guess in terms of my part with the marketing side of things, I think there's definitely been some challenges in terms of kind of similar to what I was saying earlier. I think people haven't always known how to cook with tempeh, and then if they have one bad experience, it can be a bit of a challenge to get them to try again. And that's something that we've kind of had to come back to time and time again, just thinking, how can we make it really easy for people to know what tempeh is, to understand as well why it's so incredible, because I think it almost has the problem of being too amazing, that it's got so many assets that you kind of don't really know what to focus on. And then getting people to know how to cook with it in a way that tastes really good and gets them as excited as we are. So there are definitely some challenges, but I think with more and more companies out there, even just all the speakers today, and there are so many more companies, even in the UK and beyond, that are getting as excited with Tempe as we are. And I think that's just brilliant, because it's just raising the profile of Tempe. And the more we can do that together as a movement, along with the Tempe movement as well, then the more we can get everyone eating Tempe and to have a kind of a very plant-based diet. I think that's what's so great as well, is that Tempe is really filling a gap that isn't in the market at the moment. So, we have all those incredible businesses that are creating, really realistic meat alternatives. But what we need is more variety and more sort of hyper nutritious foods for people to eat and to kind of really embrace in a plant-based diet and make sure they're getting everything they need. So yeah, I'm just thrilled to be part of that journey along with everyone here today. So thank you for having me.
Thanks, Elin. Say, is Tempe available in the chain supermarkets, the Tesco's and Sainsbury in the UK? I mean, what do you see in growth of Tempe in the mainstream?
Yes, it is. So it's available at all the major supermarkets now. A company called the Tofu Company have started creating a plain tempeh product. And then there's another tempeh company that's in Sainsbury's, which is in the supermarket. But it's still not got a big profile, and there's not much sort of innovation around tempeh in terms of different products, which is something that we're working on at Better Nature. So we've just recently released like tempeh ribs, tempeh rashers, tempeh kebab strips, and tempeh roast bites. So we're trying to kind of really innovate with tempeh and get people excited about all the formats it can be in.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And by the way, we have some questions coming in that we're not ignoring. We're just going to save those for the end of everything. So keep those cards and letters coming in, folks. We're happy to get these questions, and we'll get to them after the session's over. Thank you, Elin. Next up, we have a real treat here. This is STEM Kent that is coming on, and STEM is the CEO and co-founder of KEMA Sunrise Foods, the U.S. tempeh innovation company preparing to launch shelf-stable tempeh-based protein snacks. With a passion for health-promoting food systems, regenerative agriculture, and fermented foods, STEM started the tempeh company Alive and Healing in 2011, producing organic tempeh for the Western U.S. food service industry. His modest tempeh company has evolved to his leadership with KEMA, revolutionizing tempeh into a delicious, craveable snack for mindful indulgence. And Kim has sent me a pack of these flavors that are just killer. He's got a buffalo snack. He has a sour cream and onion, I believe, snack, and ranch. And I just found them really great. And I love that these are shelf stable, and you can take them on an airplane or take them on a hike anywhere. And they're a movable feast, as you were. So Kent, STEM, I mean, take it away and tell us more about your food.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Seth. Can you all hear me today?
Yep, we're good.
Okay, great. Well, welcome. I'm so happy to be joining all of you today for the Tempethon, really exciting event. I'm honored to be with you. And yeah, as Seth said, I started Alive and Healing in 2011. I'm based on the West Coast of the United States. I live in Northern California. And so at the time, there was no tempeh company in the Bay Area. And so for all the reasons stated earlier, I was really inspired. My path started with fermented foods and whole food nutrition, as well as focusing on sustainable agriculture. And so tempeh really fit the bill for all of those things as a real sustainable protein of the future. And so I founded a tempeh company, bootstrapped out of a commercial kitchen, and eventually built my own tempeh shop, manufacturing up to about 1,100 pounds per day of organic tempeh. Really focused on whole soy tempeh for the food service industry. So was servicing the Bay Area tech companies, the Apple campus, the Facebook campus, a lot of other corporate B&I accounts, a lot of different restaurants from mom and pop restaurants to a few chains up and down the West Coast, catering companies like that. And so really loved have this small shop, few employees, and it grew into the point where I ended up founding a company called Sunrise Foods in 2018, really looking for, this is as the alternative protein movement in the United States was starting to build, and companies like Beyond Meat were getting a lot of attention. Obviously, the focus on environmental sustainability was big. Health-minded consciousness was growing, and Tempe wasn't finding any place, really. It wasn't popular, and it still isn't. And I'm really excited about this movement here today. But we were exploring where is the white space for Tempe to really leverage its whole food nature, because if you just blend it up and put into a burger, you have to add all these binders and textural components that you don't need to do with whole tempeh, kind of a whole cut tempeh. And so we are looking at different value-added tempeh products that would really make sense for the U.S. consumer, demographic. So we were doing R&D with breaded tempeh nuggets. We were doing different marinated tempeh products, not too far from what Better Nature is doing. We were exploring blended meat with tempeh and meat properties, looking at different shelf-stable tempeh, and really in the middle of our R&D, COVID hit. And so our food service business collapsed. We had to pivot in some big ways. We still are. And that really brings us to today, where in our R&D process, we have a breakthrough when it comes to a proprietary form of dehydrated tempeh. And so we were playing around with what we can do with this different product, and it's very, very exciting. So the way that we are launching with this dehydrated product is, I'm going to share a screen here, is, let's see if I can do this well. Can you all see this screen here?
Yep.
Great. So this is our launch of the first KEMA product. So these are our protein bites. And as Seth said, these are dehydrated pieces of tempeh. This is whole tempeh that are cooked and dehydrated and then coated like your favorite Dorito. So we have a ranch flavor, a buffalo, spicy buffalo, a cheddar, a sour cream and onion. These are 2-ounce bags, and in half this bag, in 1 ounce, you're getting 8 grams of whole food tempeh. This is a keto-friendly product. It's only 2 net carbs. You're getting 4 grams of fiber. All the nutrition that comes with whole tempeh, but a grab-and-go, shelf-stable snack you can take on an airplane, hiking, have as a snack on the road, give it to your kid, and something to feel good about. So we're talking about mindful munching with this whole food product. And what this does is it opens up all sorts of opportunities for other products. So you can see here a glance of some of our early shots of our protein bites. One of these pieces of tempeh has a full gram of protein. And you see with KEMA, we're fusing tempeh fermentation. We have global partnerships for exponentially scaling solid state fermentation of tempeh. We're starting with soy. We're proud of soy here in the US. But also other legumes and pulses, as has been stated, is something that we would love to explore. And then the vacuum microwave drying with our technology partner Zenwave for unique shelf-stable tempeh products has led us to real great food innovation on food design and creating up with these protein snacks. And what's interesting about these is that it's not empty calories like a potato chip. You're getting, like I said, tons of protein, healthy fat, great fiber, all the, like I said, the paraprobiotics, all these different components of tempeh that bring the real nutrition to life and make it accessible for, your mainstream consumer, your millennials, your, athlete enthusiasts, your keto dieters, your health conscious families. So we're really excited about that. And we're exploring with the dehydrated tempeh going into cereals, high protein cereals, yogurt toppers, croutons and other things that you want a nice crunch for. So we're excited about the KEMA brand. We're excited about focusing on tempeh. And I would just say that, for this conversation, as I've been in the, small scale commercialization process of how to take tempeh and bring it to life on a large scale, we come back to very similar challenges for that all alternative proteins, really all products deal with, especially in alternative proteins. We're looking at cost and we're looking at flavor. I mean, flavor is king, and we're excited about the flavor profile that we can do with the dehydrated tempeh. And I'm excited about all the cooking classes that are here, but very important to come out with something with incredible flavor that people love. You're not going to get the meat texture that you're going to get with the protein isolates and concentrates, but that's one thing that we really need to pick up about tempeh, is acknowledging it's whole food. It's not hexane extracted protein isolates or concentrates, but really add in some incredible flavor, and how to properly scale. I mean, I'm so excited and inspired by the work of Lightlife and their Indiana facility. It's what I dream to be part of, to really scale tempeh in a way that can create a modern form of real hygienic, food safe tempeh like we can do here, but being able to put out value added products that consumers will love at cost that really does take advantage of the whole food nature, and really competes extremely well against meat products. So pleasure to be with you. I'm excited for your questions, and thank you so much. I will end my screen here.
Damn, awesome. Can't wait to see these. Can people buy them direct from you now? Are they available online?
They're not available yet. We're hoping to launch online this fall, and then in more retailers starting next year. So we haven't launched yet, but we'll be soon.
Great. We'll look for those. Can't wait.
Thanks so much.
And then next up, we have John Westdahl, who is the founder and chief tempeh maker at Squirrel and Crow Tempe. Squirrel and Crow is a specialty food manufacturer based in Portland, Oregon, with a focus on unconventional, non-soy tempeh made from regionally grown beans, seeds, nuts, and grains. John enjoys spending time with his family, cooking for friends, and coaching Little League Baseball. John, before you start, I just wanted to say we had a question come in the Q&A about which kind of rhizopus you use, Oligosporus or Arese, to make non-soy tempeh. So maybe if you can address that in your talk.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. Really honored to be here with all of these great innovators to talk with you all about tempeh. So to start to answer that question, we currently use Reprima brand, which is from Indonesia, and it's an Oligosporus variety. I used to use Orze, but I didn't really notice too much of a difference. So yeah, we've stuck with Reprima. We get good quality tempeh from that. Yeah, so I guess, to start, got into making tempeh about 6 years ago now, on our journey in commercial fermentation. I've worked in commercial sauerkraut and kombucha manufacturing in Santa Cruz for different companies. And when I moved to Portland, I began working for a bean company called The Better Bean, where we cooked a lot of beans. And it sort of got my wheels turning about fermentation of beans. I didn't have much experience, so I wanted to learn about misos and tempeh. And in my sort of hobbying, ran into a lot of issues that people who start out fermentation do, mostly with incubation, So going from these hot water bottle methods where you're babysitting the tempeh overnight and, the temperature drops or it's too hot and getting really inconsistent results, I decided to build my first incubator out of a small dorm fridge and a 60-watt light bulb and a little thermostatic controller that I ordered online and had to wire up, and started getting really nice results and sharing it with my friends and family. And I was inspired by a lot of what I was seeing with actually non-soy soy tempeh. I have a love of soy tempeh and certainly have enjoyed it. But I was really intrigued about these little blips that I saw in the book of tempeh about, oh, you can also make it out of vermicelli noodles if you want to. So that really sparked my interest in experimentation and seeing where I could really push the boundaries of tempeh, and just began playing. And at that time, I was also starting Squirrel and Crow, which at the time was we had many products, and soy-free tempeh happened to be one of them. And as we were throwing things at the wall, tempeh just kept sticking. We just kept getting feedback from our customers and our community at the farmers markets. They wanted tempeh, so we pretty much let everything else fall away, and are now solely focused on soy-free tempeh. We've narrowed it down to about 3 varieties, but we've pretty much tried everything. If it's in the bulk aisle at the grocery store, we've cooked it up and put the spores on it and seen if we can make something tasty out of it. But yeah, also, like Stem was saying, the COVID has caused a lot of us to kind of pivot, and something we've always been interested in was, value adding our own product. We have a lot of great chefs that make delicious recipes out of our tempeh, and we certainly have played with it a lot. I think we have some really good recipes as well. So we've started a sort of soft launch of some value-added products, one of which is our tempeh ribs that we really enjoy making, traditionally smoked. We just treat it like meat, basically. Smoked and brined and smoked and slathered in a delicious sauce. And we've been getting really good feedback about that too. So definitely looking to the future of tempeh, and I think we're just riding that wave. We've got some really good cultural awareness that's growing about tempeh and whole plant-based foods, as opposed to this lab food that's doing real good on the sensory side, but maybe not the cleanest label you can create. So yeah, I don't know if there's anything else.
Great. Thanks, John. There are several questions for you in the Q&A. Maybe I'll just let you answer those directly. But I love the creativity with what you're doing, and it's awesome to see all of those grains. Have you had any epic failures, like something that just didn't taste well?
I think most of my failures actually come from when I scale. I always found that I'd build these incubators, and then it would get popular, and then it was the first time I tried to slam it full. I get like a new food service account. It's like, oh, I got to make 60 more pounds of tempeh, and I had the shelf space, and then sure enough, it's the learning curve of like the tempeh makes its own heat, and all of a sudden you have an overheated incubator of tempeh because you tried to put 100 pounds in a 40-pound incubator. But the real thing with trying new things. Oh, and also I guess the other thing I didn't mention is the Tempeh Makers group on Facebook. We've created this group for folks who want to learn. Obviously I'm one person, so I can't always do one-on-one consultations with your troubleshooting, but I've created a group that has almost 4,000 people from all over the world asking questions and answering them and offering advice and sharing their successes and failures. So you can learn about, the common stumbling blocks of tempeh. Really interesting things there. If there was a scratch and sniff sticker for the internet, I'm sure it would be a really interesting group. There's some people putting edible flowers and putting sweet potatoes and stuff like that. Those are the main things that I've had epic failures with, or at least that I haven't enjoyed the flavor of, is putting things that maybe are on the wetter side. The beans will still ferment around it, but it kind of goes lactic, and there's like a sour, like all of a sudden there's like a sour flavor in your tempeh bite. It's not really my thing. And then also this idea of using herbs and spices inside of the tempeh, even though like I find it can work, I find that the flavors are dulled. And so I've pretty much given up on those sorts of experiments. I prefer to add flavors after fermentation. So yeah.
Thank you for the shout out and for creating the Facebook group. If anybody is a tempeh maker and hasn't joined, that's an awesome resource. And I sure hear you on both the overheating of trying to do too much tempeh in a batch. I became the hero of the local bird community in Forest Grove when I was making my first tempehs, and also gardeners. I've composted more tempeh probably than I've made, even almost. Not quite, but I hear you there. And we also have played around with spices, especially garlic and cayenne, you know, those ones that are sort of naturally inhibiting are really tough. But Squirrel and Crow Tempeh, Facebook Tempeh Maker Group, awesome products, John. And I'll let you answer some of those Q&A directly. If you can just type in.
You want me to talk? Type in. Okay, sure.
Yeah, if you would do that, that'd be great.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, Seth.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
All right. Next up, we have a real treat here. This is Dan Curtin, who is the president of Greenleaf Foods and has been in the food business for more than 3 decades. As his love for the industry grew and matured, he would go on to hold senior sales and management roles with Papa Charlie's, Maple Leaf Foods, and Boca Burger, where he served as a partner. In 2017, Curtin took his expertise back to Maple Leaf Foods following the company's acquisition of Lightlife. Today, Curtin leads the company's alternative subsidiary as president of Greenleaf Foods, the owner of Lightlife and Field Roast. And Dan, a pleasure to have you. Tell us about what you got going out there.
Seth, first of all, great seeing you again, and great being part of this. And I'm honored, like some of the other panelists said as well, to be part of this whole thing, which is great. As mentioned, my name is Dan Curtin. I'm president of Greenleaf Foods. We own Lightlife and Field Roast. I will tell you, I'm super, super excited to be here today, and to be having this event happen during World Tempeh Month is just really, really great. I will tell you, I love tempeh, absolutely, positively love tempeh, but like many of you, I didn't know what the heck tempeh was a few years ago. Once it got introduced to me, when we bought Lightlife and I went through the facility and I saw the care and the process of how this product was made, I was hooked, absolutely hooked. So it is now part of my regular diet, and I will share, you know, I'm a flexitarian. However, my wife is a hardcore vegan, and you know, we spend lots of time, especially in these last 15, 16 months with not traveling, of experimenting with lots of different dishes and doing things with marinades and all that. But we challenge each other this month to come up with creative tempeh dishes, and we'll talk a little bit about more of that. But let me step back and tell you a little bit about Lightlife. First of all, it was actually founded in 1979. So Seth, probably around the same time you started your business, by 2 people, Michael Cohen and Chia Collins. And it was in an old converted car wash that they initially called it Tempe Works. And that's kind of when it was launched. And they launched first with tempeh. And then in the mid 80s, they changed the name to Lightlife Foods. Since that time, the business has changed hands a couple of times. As I mentioned, you know, we acquired it about 4.5 years ago. But I will tell you, a lot has stayed the same, a lot has changed during those 40 years, that's for sure, especially when it comes to tempeh, and I'll share a little bit what's going on. But then we expanded, and they expanded beyond tempeh into other offerings. And as mentioned by some of the panelists before, you know, Lightlife is all about real food, and tempeh is at the top of that. As everyone knows, just a couple of ingredients with that. So as we've added products to it, we've made sure that we've stayed really, really core to what Lightlife stands about. What we're very, very proud of is the position with Lightlife and tempeh. You know, about 80% of the tempeh that's sold in the United States is all under the Lightlife brand, and I feel really proud of what the team has done to not only support the business but to grow it. And I'll talk a little bit. We're starting to see not only some great traction inside of retail stores, but we're seeing tremendous traction starting on the food service side of the business, as I think more people are looking for options on protein, and Tempe is a great option for protein, as you know. A couple of years ago, we launched a product at Whole Foods called the TTLA, which was tempeh, tomato, lettuce, and avocado. And if you've never tried that combination of products together, I will tell you, it's the best BLT you'd ever have. It's really great. So lots of things that are happening with food service, and we're getting at the table now in food service stuff that we would not have happened a couple of years ago. But when you rewind, Tempe started all in natural food. I mean, that's really what it was. It was a natural food product. That's where it was merchandise. That's where it was sold. Places like Whole Foods, PNC, Mothers, and hundreds of independent natural food stores. But what's happened, and this is where I think some of the things that we've done that I'm really proud of, is that we have taken this product now to mainstream. You can find it at Walmart, at Target, Kroger, Publix, other major retailers in the United States and Canada. We brought it into Canada as well a couple of years ago. And it's about education. It's about sharing with people what to do with it. But today we produce over 7.5 million pounds of tempeh, and business has just been going incredibly well. We see great growth that's out there. And while our product started with first just the original flavor of tempeh, we expanded that into some flavors with our smoky tempeh, a buffalo style tempeh, and what consumers they're trying to figure out what to do, right? What is this product? How do we use it? Where do we go with all that stuff? But as we've shared here today, and a lot of people talk about it, tempeh is absolutely a powerhouse food, but it's still relatively unknown. For those that you may or may not be aware, in the US, household penetration is under 1%. So, just think of what the opportunity is. And quite frankly, I'll be talking in a minute about the big investment that we're making, but we firmly believe that tempeh has tremendous upside, not only in new household penetrations, but also in existing, of giving people opportunities to use it differently. We've invested significantly. If you look at our website, and you're going to see some of it later here, some of the recipe ideas, because that's the biggest question we get. And I get asked all the time, what is it and what do I do with it? So, we've spent a lot of time really going after that, giving people ideas. But with that, and some of the investment that we've done of educating people, it's getting involved with influencers as well, which you'll see a little bit more about. But the big thing, Seth, as you said, we recently made a public announcement. We are investing $100 million. It's $100 million in Tempe. We bought a facility in Indiana. It's going to be able to triple the size of the output that we have. So we know we're clearly investing for the future, but we're going to help drive that. We're going to help drive it there, and we're going to help do all those pieces with it. And as we were talking here, it's a bit of art and science. And what we're trying to do is, do the things to be able to control the consistent product. We don't want to be feeding all those pig farmers that you're talking about and other crops to use the product, right? We need to make sure we're putting great product out there. And, we produce our own starter culture. We've got some of our associates that have been making tempeh for over 20 years. So that's the art part of it. They've really got it down. And we're really excited about it. So to be part of this event today and part of what's going on, we're, as they say, all in. We are absolutely all in. And, we know that there's tremendous upside. And once, I will tell you, just from a personal side, because it happened with me, once I found out how to use the product and what to do with it, it became part of our staple diet and our protein. And it's happened with dozens and dozens and dozens of friends of ours that we've introduced it to as well. And you're going to see a video that we put together to show how different people can use the product with it, and it's really encouraging. So I love tempeh. We got to get more people to do it. We got to get household penetration to 25 or 30%, similar to what some of these non-dairy milk products are doing. And anyway, I think tremendous upside. We're all in and we're excited to be here. So thank you, Seth.
Yeah, hats off to you. And that's going to be a great advancement for Tempe to have the new plant opening up. You do a great job with Tempe. I have a lot of respect for your company and all that you're doing. And yeah, stay tuned, everybody. We're going to show a short video about the Dutch Tempe maker that's going to be opening up the India market with Tempe. But after that, you don't want to miss this amazing video that Lightlife has put out. So thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Seth.
I want to encourage all panelists to go into the Q&A, and we're probably not going to have time to do this verbally, but there are some questions for a lot of you. And if you could please go in there and type the answer directly to the people, that's probably the best way to do this. All right. Now we're up to Hank Schouten is the CEO of Schouten Foods, an independent family-run Dutch company that was founded as a bakery in 1893. In 1990, Hank expanded the company's cereal and oilseed business to include some of the early meat alternatives in the Netherlands. The company only started making tempeh 5 years ago, but has grown to become a very large supplier of tempeh in the Netherlands and the UK. He added tempeh to his line of meat alternatives because in the long run, we do not need to imitate meat. His project of building small local tempeh plants in India has started because, in his words, production of meat analogs is too expensive. Indian people need to eat more protein, but many cannot afford it. If meat eating is not your habit, you are not looking for an imitation. Tempeh fits very well in the Indian diet. The cold chain is not very developed in India, making local production a good solution. Also, the supply of raw materials, soya, mung beans, lentils, chickpeas, can be local and direct from the farmer. We do not expect to make a profit, but hope to be self-sufficient. 40% of the tempeh that we make will be sold at a discount to schools and other community organizations. Hank can't be here today, but he sent this amazing video of his work to open 100 local tempeh shops all over India and buying, like he said, ingredients straight from the farmers and selling them to both grocery markets and upscale stores, but also to community groups and schools at a discount. And we're going to show that video now.
In Bangalore, India, Hank Schouten, CEO of Schouten Europe, launched an innovative way to produce food in a sustainable and healthy way. Tempeh today. Protein-rich tempeh is locally produced in high-tech small fermentation units, SFUs. This Dutch innovation makes a future-proof contribution to reducing the protein deficit amongst the Indian population. Tempeh today's aim is to implement at least 100 SFUs over the next 5 years in this rapidly growing region. Tempeh is an ancient vegetable protein source based on soy and made by fermenting soybeans. The process occurs through the influence of microorganism, which binds the soybeans into a whole. Tempeh absorbs flavors very well, making it an excellent ingredient for many different dishes. Tempeh is completely plant-based, contains about the same amount of protein as chicken and is rich in B vitamins, iron, minerals and fiber. Individual SFUs are monitored from the Netherlands to ensure standardized production, consistent quality and food safety. Local employees in and around SFUs are responsible for the operational side of the business. Meals 60% of the tempeh will be supplied to the supermarkets, hotels, restaurants, catering and industry. The remaining 40% of the tempeh will be used in meals for school children. With Tempeh today, Schouten offers 800 Indian workers employment for the coming years. This means they will receive a fair wage and be able to provide a better future for their families. Additionally, 15,000 local soybean farmers can receive an income by supplying soybeans to the local SFU. The farmers are being trained to get a good yield, good quality of the soybeans, and to produce them sustainably. Tempe today hopes to eventually produce a total of 10,000 tons of tempeh a year in order to give the Indian diet a healthy and sustainable protein boost.
All right, that is really inspiring. Just having somebody that can, is successful in the Netherlands and then is going to go to India, not by shipping product halfway around the world, but by doing local plants and he's planning to manage these plants from the Netherlands online as far as the QA goes. So it's a top flight situation that he's developing and really inspiring to me. So speaking of inspiration, we're wrapping this panel up now. I know that, like I said, on Q&A, if the panelists will stay on and just type answers, that would be great. We're running a little bit behind time and we want to get to these fabulous cooks and the recipes. But before we do, I want to show this, what I call a historic video that Lightlife has created that, to make tempeh more of a common food that we can find in refrigerators all over the country and penetrate the market, we're going to need to sexy up our marketing. And this video is the most on point, hot and happening video for tempeh that I've ever seen. I think it's really historic. Imagine seeing this video. When you're looking at this video, imagine the impact that it would have as, I don't know, a Super Bowl commercial or anything on television. So let's roll the Lightlife sizzle video. Here we go.
Somebody save your soul, cause you've been sinning in the city. I know too many troubles, all these lovers got you losing control. You like a drug to me, a luxury, my sugar and gold. I want the good life every good night, you're a hot one to hold. Cause you don't even know, I can make your hands clap. Said I can make your hands clap. Somebody save your soul, cause you've been sinning in the city. I know too many troubles, all these lovers got you losing control. You like a drug to me, a luxury, my sugar and gold. I want your sex and your affection when they're holding you close. Cause you don't even know, I can make your hands clap. Said I can make your hands clap. Every night when the stars come out, am I the only living soul around? Need to believe you could hold me down, cause I'm in need of something good right now. We could be screaming till the sun comes out, and when we wake we'd be the only sound. Get on my knees and say your friend change round. But I can make your hands clap. And I can make your hands clap. And I can make your hands clap. My flesh is searching for your wisdom, that's don't ever deny. I'm like a stranger, give me danger, all you're holding me right. Secrets on my way to the freeway, you're a keeper of crimes. Feel no conviction, grips of life can only sweeten your wine. But you don't even know, I can make your hands clap. Said I can make your hands clap. Every night when the stars come out, am I the only living soul around? We could be screaming till the sun comes out, and when we wake we'd be the only sound. Get on my knees and say your friend change round. But I can make your hands clap.
Wow, what an incredible sizzle video from Lightlife. I hope that you're feeling excited and perhaps even a little hungry. So welcome to the cooking segment for Tempethon 2021. We have some world-class chefs sharing some mouth-watering and delicious recipes with you today. And we hope that this inspires you to create some tempeh dishes of your own this week. Don't forget that we'll be sharing the recipe cards for all of the featured recipes with you via email following tonight's event. To kick things off, we're delighted to welcome JL Fields with a live cooking demo. JL is a vegan health and career coach and a chef consultant to food, health, and wellness brands. She is the founder and culinary director of the Colorado Springs Vegan Cooking Academy and the author of several top-selling cookbooks, including The Complete Plant-Based Diet, The Vegan Air Fryer, and the Fast and Easy Vegan Cookbook. We're so excited to have JL present an incredible American-inspired tempeh recipe directly from her kitchen today. So JL, over to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm suddenly feeling like I need a soundtrack. That video was so awesome. I'm so excited. I'm completely a tempeh fan, and I'm feeling like I'm the 1% now. He said 1% of US kitchens are eating tempeh. Yay, I made the 1%. Okay, everyone. So Melania said world-class chefs. I'll take that, but really at the end of the day, I am a home cook who happened to write some cookbooks, started to teach some cooking classes, and I coach plant-based and vegan folks or the curious on how they can start to cook delicious meals at home that don't require a lot of work. So I heard a couple of themes today, but I do want to let you know, I just have a short amount of time. So I'm actually going to start cooking a few things and then explain to you what I'm doing. So today I'm going to make I'm in Colorado. Hello from Colorado. Lots of mountains, beautiful here. I'm going to make for you today a very American recipe, a very US recipe, and it's called Sloppy Joe's. Now, it might be in different cultures have a different name, but even here in the United States, there are two different ways to look at Sloppy Joe's. The traditional, which kind of has a tomato base, which I'm making for you today. And in some parts of the country, they call it a loose meat sandwich that has sort of a creamy base to it. So I'm making the tomato base, but what I want you to know is that what I have discovered about tempeh is it's kind of a great gateway food when you are moving from a non-vegan or plant-based diet to a vegan or a plant-based diet, because it can really stand in for meat. And in meat, what I'm talking about today is a plant-based meat, a vegan meat. So what I've got going on in the skillet right now, just so you can see, is I have a little green pepper and mushroom that I'm sauteing. And I'm getting that started because I'm going to make a really meaty dish today using tempeh. I'm going to give you a couple of tips. But the reason I'm adding mushrooms is because I always say that one of the secret ingredients to plant-based cooking is to include an umami element. And actually, tempeh brings an umami element simply from being fermented. So umami is a way to bring a savoriness, a sense of satiety, a sense of meatiness to your meals, but it doesn't require meat. It's different ways that you cook, and it's different ingredients: fermented foods, mushrooms, dried or fresh mushrooms, tomato paste. That's why we're using the pasta sauce today. So we're making an umami bomb today, just something that makes your taste buds squirt, and it's something familiar. And when you start to add some mushrooms and green peppers, we're building some flavors. But I want to show you the tempeh that I'm going to put in, and then I'm going to describe what I did with it, and I'm going to show you how to do it. But let's get it going. So right now I have some tempeh that I ground, and I just added a little marinara sauce to it, and it's been in my refrigerator for a couple of days. Now, why on earth would I do something like that? Well, I'm about to tell you, but let's just get this going. What I like to do is on the weekends, do what I call batch and bulk cooking, which is just kind of getting myself together for the week, ready to roll, have foods that are easy to reheat, salads ready to eat right away. And I'll always cube up some tofu, and I'll have that marinating for a couple days. But I do the same with tempeh. But I have two tips for you, because I don't know if you noticed, if you've been listening to the panelists, so many people have talked about how it can feel like it's intimidating to use tempeh, or they're not sure about it. They're not sure about the texture or the flavor. And so I'm going to give you a couple of tips that I think will help you start to use tempeh more in your kitchen. But first, I'm going to turn up this heat. So what we've got going is I ground up some tempeh, and I'm going to show you again so you can do this to get ready this week. I ground it up with my hands, and I poured a little tomato sauce, a little marinara, but then I also added some cumin and some chili pepper, and then I'll do something smoky, again, bringing in that umami, either a chipotle pepper, or I might do a like a smoky paprika. So I used smoky paprika this time around. So we're just gonna let this go. And what I do is I put 1 cup of the marinara sauce in the ground tempeh when I'm gonna let it sit in the refrigerator for a few days. Then when it's time to cook, I just add another 1/4 cup of this tomato sauce. And I'm just gonna let it do its thing while I start to talk to you about how much I love and adore tempeh, and especially for these sloppy joes. So let's turn up the heat a little bit, and now let's talk tempeh. And I'm going to show you what I do. So I've written several cookbooks, and one of them, oh, we have somebody from Westminster. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys, I teach online cooking classes. I am so excited when people are asking questions. So I'm totally going to be looking at the questions and giving you shout outs like, hello, yay, vegan Colorado Springs. Mary's here, Shamar is here. Great to see you. Okay, back to the tempeh. All right, so as a new vegan, that was about, 2010. I'd been vegetarian for a very, very long time, didn't quite make the switch, then I did. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, my whole world is open to me. People say when they start to eat plant-based, what am I gonna eat? And what I soon learned was, oh my gosh, all of this food I'd never touched before. How lucky am I? And so tempeh was kind of, I wasn't sure about it. Wasn't sure about the way it looked, wasn't sure what to do with it. And then I was writing my book, Vegan Pressure Cooking, one of my first cookbooks. And I accidentally discovered something really, really cool. So I'm going to show you. So this is an Instant Pot. They're pretty ubiquitous in the United States. I use it because of the pressure cooking function. But what I learned was if I put a little water in my Instant Pot or in a pressure cooker, and then put a steam trivet, and then put tempeh on top and set the Instant Pot to high pressure, 0 minutes, and immediately release the pressure, I have steamed my tempeh and it becomes creamy. It starts to fall apart. And then when I marinate it, it just absorbs all of that flavor. So if you're new to tempeh and you have an Instant Pot or even a steamer, steam it for just 0 minutes if you're doing it under pressure, or 10 minutes if you're doing it on the stovetop in a pot in a pan. And you're gonna actually make a really kind of supple, creamy texture that will let you absorb all those flavors while you're cooking. So that's one thing I learned. But the other thing that I learned that I think is just as easy and a lot of fun is I do a, let's say 36 to 72 hour marinade in the refrigerator. So I will just take a block of tempeh. By the way, did you know it freezes really well? Like I buy tons of tempeh and I have it in my refrigerator and I have it in my freezer, and then I just always have it. But I just take it, and I love to just use my hands with them when I'm cooking. And if you don't do that, you guys, start touching your food. There's just nothing like a stress reliever of touching your food while you're cooking. But anyway, I just start to crumble it together, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it in this reusable non-BPA zip top so that it can just, I can put it in the dishwasher when I'm done with that. But I just crumble up the tempeh with my fingers. And that's exactly what I did with what's in the skillet right now. And I just do this, and I love it. It's like a stress reliever at the end of the day. I'm like, oh, I'm going to take out all of my frustration and stress today on this tempeh that never did anything to me. Why am I being so mean? It's okay. I'm not hurting it. Okay, so now I've crumbled it up, and I'm just going to do it a little bit more because what I'm trying to do is turn it into meaty pieces, right? It's going to be my ground meat. I did that in quotes. I just didn't have my fingers available to do that. Now I'm just going to pour over a cup of your favorite marinara sauce. Now I'm going to add the spices, cumin, chili powder, smoked paprika, and a little salt. And then I am just going to stir it really, really quickly right here in this bag. You can also put it in a jar in your refrigerator. So I'm going to let it sit for a couple of days. And what happens is the acid in this tomato sauce just starts to work on this tempeh. And what I'm doing is I'm tenderizing it. And I'm just going to go like this. I'm going to close it up. And then I'm just going to set it in my refrigerator. And one day this week after work, I'm going to be like, all right, sloppy Joe time. All I have to do is toss this in my skillet and I'm ready to roll. So I've given you a couple tips. One is that you can do a marinade in a jar or in a container in your refrigerator, just a couple days. Let that acid, you could use like a lemon juice, you could use a balsamic vinegar. Every Sunday when I'm preparing for my week, as I said, I'll cook some beans in advance, I'll cook some whole grains, and then I always marinate some tofu, and I always marinate some tempeh. But I change the flavor profile all the time. If I think that I want to have Asian influenced meal, then what I might do is use a little maybe rice vinegar, some garlic, maybe some sambal oelek. But so I'm using some acids and some tomatoes to kind of break it down a little bit. So I am going to just check on my sloppy joes really quick. And I use tempeh as a meat replacement. So a lot of people, when they're eating vegan or plant-based, actually, I just had this conversation with somebody I met a couple of days ago, and he's like, why do you guys keep like trying to eat stuff that looks like meat? And I was like, my whole life, I ate a certain way. And then I made an ethical decision to eat a plant-based diet and live a vegan lifestyle. And so there's food I loved when I was growing up, and food is so entrenched in our culture and food and family memories. So why not try something? And so when you look at all the things that are out there right now, tempeh is this wholesome soybean or other legumes, as you heard earlier from our panelists, that are fermented. It's so good for our belly. It's so good for us from a nutritional standpoint with this really high protein, lots of vitamins, lots of minerals, and it can take on the flavors and the textures that we recognize. And that's how you can keep going when you're transitioning or you're trying to eat a plant-based or vegan diet. And you're like, oh, this is so hard. Keep finding creative ways to pull in flavors that grandma used, a dish that your dad made that you absolutely loved, and find that plant-based element, ingredient that can bring to you the flavor you want. So with these very simple sloppy joes, all I did the marinade that I just showed you, which was a pasta sauce, cumin, chili pepper, smoked paprika, let it set for a couple days. In the skillet, I sauteed some coarsely chopped portobello mushrooms. Again, it's an umami ingredient, added some green peppers, a little more sauce, and you guys, I did it. So what does it look like when I have a tempeh sloppy joe? Well, it looks a lot like it did when I was, okay, this is where this could cause a fight. I think people use different kinds of condiments when they're making a sloppy joe. So I'm not going to tell you I'm right, but this is the best way to have your sloppy joe. I love a little mustard, and believe it or not, this mustard recipe is actually from Miyoko's cookbook. She's going to be coming up soon. So we make our own mustard. You don't have to make your own mustard. Just yellow mustard's fine. Brown mustard's great. Then I like to layer a few onions. Then I add a little bit of the sloppy joe. It's going to be a little messy. That's the way I like it. And I love me some pickles on my sloppy joe. And there you go. You have a tempeh. Look how meaty that is. Beautiful mushrooms, green peppers, and you've got that bite from the tempeh and great texture. And that, folks, is how I do tempeh in my house. I like to start with a little steaming. I like to start, or I do a marinade. I like to pull in flavors that I remember and that I love. My shirt says anything that you can eat, I can eat vegan, and this is a perfect example of that. You love a hamburger? Try hamburger with tempeh and some brown rice, maybe some rolled oats, and put some veggies in there, and you get a meaty, meaty burger. Bolognese sauce, amazing when you want to make pasta. I love it in chili. I will do a little tempeh, and then I'll do a lot of beans and a lot of veggies, and I just get those flavors, those things that I grew up with. So that's my quick demo to show you how this home cook makes tempeh in her house. And I am happy to answer any questions, Melania, if you have any you want to see. And I see I do have some questions here. So Melania, if you want to let me know how you prefer I do questions, I'm open for anything.
Amazing. JL, thank you so much for bringing us into your kitchen with such a wonderful cook along. You are absolutely fabulous, and I think you've inspired everyone to get meal prepping this Sunday. There are a few questions and shout outs for you in the Q&A. A lot of people loving your recipes. So if you want to head over into that, then people can interact with you directly, if that's good.
I will do that. Thanks for having me. Yay, Tempe! Eat more Tempe!
Thank you so much, JL. And next up, we have a fun cooking video from the cult celebrity chef Miyoko Schinner from Miyoko's Creamery. A true superstar in the vegan community, Miyoko invented the category of artisan vegan cheese through her company Miyoko's Creamery. She's been recognized by the United Nations as a vegan revolutionary and has won countless awards for her impact-driven work. We're delighted to share with you today a recipe from Miyoko Schinner.
It's a Tempethon, and the Tempe be cooking. I'm gonna make some gochujang tempeh lettuce wraps. I'm gonna wrap them up in lettuce. All right, that's enough. All right. Hey, everybody. Hello, everyone. I'm Miyoko Schinner, and today I'm gonna show you a really quick and easy way to make some tempeh, Korean style, wrap it up in a lettuce leaf, perfect for summertime. So I'm starting out with my tempeh, and I'm gonna cut it like this. So it's a little bit thinner, and then we're gonna cube it. So we get nice little bites. Now, what we're gonna do with the tempeh first is to simmer it, a little bit of broth and some gochujang, and then we're gonna coat it in a little bit of flour and saute it so it gets really crispy, and then add our Korean style sauce on that. That's gonna top it a little bit of radishes, a few pieces of radish that's been marinated in some vinegar, and some peanuts, green onions, and we'll have a really quick and easy appetizer. Okay, so this tempeh is now going to go into this pot here. And the first thing we're going to do is add about a cup of, this is vegan chicken broth. You can use vegetable broth as well. So just some sort of vegan broth. So about a cup, doesn't have to be exact. It could be a little bit off, no problem. And then we're going to add about a tablespoon of gochujang. And by simmering the tempeh first for about 20 minutes until this broth is almost all gone, what we're going to get is a flavor-infused tempeh, which will make it even better. Okay, so fortunately, I've already cooked some right there. So we're going to start with that. We're going to saute that right here in the middle burner. Let me get that burner going. I've got a cast iron skillet. We're going to take the pre-cooked tempeh, and I'm going to coat it with about 4 or 5 tablespoons of flour. You don't have to be exact with this either. We just want the flour because it will create sort of a crispy coating, add to the texture of the tempeh, and then you'll be able to coat it with some more gochujang sauce. It'll be absolutely delicious. Okay, so I've coated my tempeh now. And I'm heating up my pot or my pan here, and I'm going to add some oil. You can use sunflower oil, canola oil, olive oil. It really doesn't matter. You just want to add oil so that it doesn't stick and that the tempeh becomes nice and crispy. So I'm going to now get my oil hot. I'm going to add my tempeh pieces. You want to hear that little sizzle. And because we want it to cook and get crispy, we're just going to leave it alone. We're not going to start stirring it right away. We'll stir it in a minute, but we want to give it a chance to get crispy. Okay. I'm actually going to turn this off because we're not going to use this. I already have some. And we'll deal with this later. Okay, so that's going away. That is cooking. In the meantime, we're going to prep the vegetables. So I've got some beautiful radishes here. And we're just going to slice these up using a mandolin. Cut this little piece off. So this is a mandolin. You want them as thin as you can, paper thin if you can. I like to keep the top on so I have a place to hold without cutting my finger, and you can use the these tops to make a lovely radish pesto. So. Okay, I'm not going to do all of them. You should, if you're going to make the whole recipe for purposes of showing you how to do this. I'm just going to add the radishes to a bowl here, and we're going to soften them up with a little bit of apple cider vinegar, which is already in here, and a little bit of sugar. So I'm going to combine all of that. And we're going to let it marinate while the tempeh is cooking. This will soften up the radishes a little bit. You don't want them to be completely wilted. You want a little bit of texture, a little bit of freshness. And we'll just let that sit. And then we need a pinch of salt too. There we go. Okay, so we're just going to let that marinate while I'm cooking everything else. Okay, now we're going to mix up the sauce. For the sauce, we're going to start out with more gochujang. So I've got about 2 tablespoons of gochujang. That's going to go right here in the bowl. I'm going to add a tablespoon of soy sauce, about 2 teaspoons of dark sesame oil, a tablespoon of mirin, which is a sweet sake, and finally about 2 teaspoons of sugar. And we're going to mix that together and get that ready to add to the tempeh once it crispens. Okay, let me just take a look at the tempeh and see how that's coming along. I'll use one of these, I'm not sure which one. All right, oh yes, they're getting really crispy, nice and brown. Now I can start sauteing it. You want that color, you want that texture. We need to cook this for a few more minutes. Now I do have some lettuce leaves that I prepped ahead of time. You can use any kind of lettuce leaf you like. I like to use Boston or butter lettuce, but you can also use romaine or something else. And at the same time, I'm going to chop up some green onions while we're waiting for this. So this whole dish comes together so quickly. And of course, you have to sing the tempeh blues. I got the tempeh blues. I'm as hungry as I can be. Oh yeah. I just don't know when my tempeh's gonna be ready. Oh no, I don't. But it'll be yummy. All right, forget it, Miyoko. You just wait and see. Oh yeah, I got the tempeh blues. I'm as hungry as I can be. Oh yeah. All right, let's see if this is ready. Oh my gosh, this looks so delicious. They're now brown and crispy and ready to add my gochujang sauce. So give it some time. You know, you want to make sure that most of the sides of the tempeh are cooked and brown. I can smell the tempeh. The tempeh already has flavor because remember we simmered them in gochujang sauce and vegetable broth or vegan chicken stock. And now we're going to add this lovely gochujang sauce, toss it off, I'm going to take it off the heat. All right, my tempeh is ready to assemble. So we're going to add the gochujang, the Korean style tempeh. And tempeh is Indonesian, it's not Korean, but this is sort of a Korean spin. We're going to fill these, probably being too generous, you don't need that much on each. Maybe a little bit more, a tablespoon or 2 on each lettuce leaf is really all you need. And you can let these marinate a little bit longer. We only let them marinate for about 5 minutes, but maybe 15, 20 minutes is good. We're going to top this now with some chopped toasted peanuts. And finally, some chopped green onions. And that is it for the Korean style Tempe lettuce wrap. Take a bite while you think of the Tempe blue. So happy Tempethon, everybody. Ciao.
How good did those tempeh lettuce wraps look? I am really starting to get hungry now. So now it's time to turn up the heat in the tropical kitchen. I am excited to share with you a spicy and delicious recipe for tempeh balado, a quintessential Indonesian dish. In the tropical kitchen, we're focused on putting a plant-based and healthy twist on traditional Indonesian recipes and adding a sprinkle of flair and fun along the way. So I hope you enjoy this video. Let's get into it. Hi everyone, my name is Melania Edwards and I'm the founder of the Tropical Kitchen. The Tropical Kitchen is on a mission to elevate Indonesia's culture and cuisine globally. Time to get our aprons on. The recipe for spicy balado tempeh is very simple and straightforward. And today we're going to be putting a healthy and plant-based twist on things. Rather than frying the tempeh, we're actually going to be marinating it in a delicious tamarind-based sauce. And then we're going to be baking it until it's crispy and golden brown. We'll then be creating a delectable and spicy balado sauce. And I'm going to be showing you the step-by-step instructions so that you can recreate it and put it on your tempeh too. Now, I understand that everybody likes different levels of spice in their kitchen. I tend to like it hot, 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 but I definitely included some substitutes in case you want to make the dishes a little milder, or even if you want to turn up the heat a notch and make it even spicier, I got you covered. So let's get into it. For the balado sauce, you're going to need 3 shallots, 2 cloves of minced or chopped garlic, 2 red chilies, 1 tomato, 1 teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt, the juice of half a lime, half a tablespoon of sugar, and kaffir lime leaves. Now for the marinated tempeh, we're going to use 2 cloves of minced or chopped garlic and 1 tablespoon of agave or maple syrup. Next up, we're going to be adding 2 tablespoons of soy sauce or tamari sauce if you're gluten-free, and then 2 tablespoons of tamarind juice. Next up, we're going to be adding half a teaspoon of cumin powder. Then we're going to add 1/4 of a teaspoon of ground coriander. Then we're going to add 1 tablespoon of good quality oil and mix it together to make the marinade. So nice you're going to finish mixing up here, because it turns out it's not that easy to cook with one hand and film with the other. Now we have the star of the show, the amazing tempeh. We're going to want to cut the tempeh into cubes before we coat it in the marinade. You can chop this as large or as small as you like, but I find that 1-inch cubes tend to work the best. We're now coating the tempeh in the delicious marinade, and you're going to want to let this rest for at least 20 minutes to let it all soak in. In the meantime, don't forget to preheat the oven to 180 Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit. Once you're ready, we're going to bake the tempeh in the oven for around 20 minutes until the tempeh is crispy and golden brown. Now we're going to prepare the sambal balado, which is native to the Padang cuisine in West Sumatra. Balado literally means with chili, so as you can imagine, this dish is going to be both hot and tasty. You're going to want to roughly chop the shallots, chili, tomato, and garlic before we blend them all together. Now, like I've mentioned, the balado sauce can be as mild or as spicy as you want to make it. So this next part is really up to you. If you don't fancy anything too spicy today, you could always substitute with extra tomatoes, peppers, or more mild chili peppers. It's completely up to you. If you do choose to use some spicy chilies, remember to open them up and de-seed them unless you want a real kicker today. Now that we have the base sorted, we're going to want to add 2 cloves of chopped or minced garlic, a tablespoon of pink Himalayan salt, and then half a tablespoon of sugar. And there we have it. Traditionally, people use a pestle and mortar, but we're going to use the magic of a blender to blend and combine all the ingredients today. Add a splash of olive oil to the pan. Oh, and don't forget to check on that crispy and delicious tempeh. We're now going to add our combined balado sauce to the wok or the pan until it's sizzling and fragrant. This should take around 2 to 5 minutes. At this point, you can add a kaffir lime leaf to add a tropical twist. And my favorite is adding an additional squeeze of lime. It just draws out the flavors perfectly. And now the very last step, adding in the marinated tempeh. So you just add it straight into the wok or pot and mix it all up until everything is evenly coated, ready to be served immediately. Now, if you want an extra spicy kick, you can always add a little additional chili sauce. I love this chili crunch because it adds a really nice and smoky flavor. I really hope that you enjoyed the recipe today and you give it a try tonight or this week. Let me know how it goes, and thank you so much for following along. So I hope that you all enjoyed my tropical kitchen. And now for our last session, we have a live cooking demonstration from the bright and bubbly Cata Vallejo. Cata is a culinary, health, and integrated nutrition coach all the way from Ecuador. After experiencing problems with digestion, food intolerance, and a lack of momentum in her early 30s, Cata decided to launch The Greenest Me, and this led her to a journey of deep emotional, spiritual, and physical change. She is dedicated to fermenting the world, and we're so pleased to have her here today. So over to you, Cata.
Thank you so much. We are so excited to be here, sharing with you some of our experience. We are in Cadeate, which is a tiny town, little town by the Pacific coast in Ecuador, and we are in a little mountain. So maybe you're gonna see some bugs around because we are in the middle of the climb. So I found a Tempe movement 3 years ago, and it was like a bright new star. We were making Tempe eh, self-teaching, self-learning 2 years before that. So we started to make Tempe 5 years ago. But 3 years ago, I found the Tempe Temple, the Tempe movement, and as I used to be before the pandemic, before COVID, I used to be a flight attendant. So I used to travel around the world to get to know fermented food around the world. That's how I start my healing journey, my gut healing journey. So I used to be plant-based only. Now I'm a flexitarian, but we are plant-based, just not plant-based only. So we are focused on fermented food, and we are focused on flavor and the umami sensation that fermented food provide us. So we found in the plant-based only journey, we found Tempe as a great source for protein. So we specialize on making Tempe, but really over here in Ecuador, we don't find good quality soy. So we focus on making Tempe on Andean grains. So what I have today for you, we produce our own Tempe. We made chickpea Tempe. We made a panamito bean Tempe, and we make these are quinoa with lentils Tempe. This is like a chickpea and quinoa with lentils Tempe is what we prepare most. So there was nobody making Tempe in Ecuador 5 years ago. 3 years ago, nobody making Tempe in Ecuador. So we were the first entrepreneurship launching Andean Tempe. So it was really, really difficult to get into the market with this fermented product. To a start, it was really hard to introduce fermented foods, and Tempe, it was like harder. So we tried to marinate it with some real tropical and real Ecuadorian things and a lot of vegetable, because we try to make it the simplest we can. As it is so difficult to explain over here in Ecuador what Tempe is, we try to mix it with vegetables and with a lot of flavor. And we use as a flavor, I love to marinate my Tempe with banana vinegar. We have this banana vinegar, which is a little entrepreneurship also, and from the Manabí province. And over there, they have a lot of banana plantations. So we make a marinade. That's what we're gonna make today. A marinade of banana vinegar. I put some sesame oil, toasted sesame oil. I love the flavor that it gives in the mix of that. And you can use some tamari, soy sauce, shoyu. I use coconut aminos. And with this, I marinate my Tempe. I challenge you to try to always, even when I eat animal protein, I always try to make to marinate my protein with vinegars, apple cider vinegar, vinegar from banana. I also have vinegar from maracuya. I collect vinegar. I love vinegar. Vinegar, what makes in our gut is in our digestion. It prepares our digestion to get the more out of the protein. If it is animal or vegetable protein, it helps us to digest better these macronutrients and get the most out of it. So if you try to put some vinegar, either if you marinate the food or either if you drink it with water, like a soda, like a sparkling water with a little bit of banana vinegar, for example, or apple cider vinegar before your food, like 30 minutes before, you're gonna digest better your proteins and you're gonna have less glycemic impact on your blood for having a lot of beans, which happens with people who only eat with a plant food only diet. So what I do is this: I marinate and I leave it. I can leave it on. I put it also. I can leave this in the fridge, cover in a glass container, covered very close, like tight close, and keep it in my fridge for around 7 to 9 days. The taste is gonna be higher. The taste it's gonna change because it's gonna keep fermenting, but it's gonna be an easy way to have a protein for your daily basis. So this is only, I only like to put some heat to my tempeh. I love to put it on either on an air fryer or in a pan and just heat it up a little bit. I have some prepared here. I like to toast it a little bit. I have this already ready for the assemble of the plate. What I like to show you is that we use a lot of fermented food. So the recipe that I gave you, the list of the ingredients can be either fresh produce or it can be fermented. We have that very same recipe of the salad. We have it fermented over here. So what we're gonna do is what we're gonna do today is a mix of fresh ingredients and a little bit of fermented food. So this is fermented since June 19th. I'm giving some classes now, so I have this freshly bubbling. So what we are known, Ecuador is known for our banana products. We produce a lot of banana, shrimp, coffee, and chocolate. So we eat a lot of green banana and sweet banana. I prepare some little maduro. We call this maduro, which is sweet, not the fruit, but the green banana already mature, already sweet. So this is maduro, and I'm gonna put it in the oven and let it caramelize. I have it ready already. And as you can see, it is caramelized. It took only like 15 minutes if you cut it in squares. If you put it whole, it's gonna take a half an hour, like around 300 Fahrenheit, okay? And if you like it more caramelized, you can leave it more time. And this, I'm gonna sprinkle it some gomasio. I love to mix tropical food from here, from South America, with Asian food, with Asian flavors. I think it covers a lot of my papilas gustativas of what I feel in my mouth. It's a whole and circle flavor which satisfy my appetite. So I'm gonna make the assemble of my plate, which is gonna be the base, some chard and some carrots. I'm gonna put some mango slices, a little of mango slices. I'm gonna put some zucchini. And I'm gonna use some of my fermented already salad, which is over here. As you can see, some colors over there. Bacteria. Today is the International Microbiome Day, so it is the day of our gut. We are celebrating with the Tempe, the International Tempe Day, and also our gut. So it is a perfect match. When I do my Tempe, I like to heat it up, as I told you. So what I do is the following. For example, if I don't have an air fryer, which I don't have over here, I have my little kitchen. And what I do is I brush some oil in the pan. This is coconut oil. I brush some oil, and I like to put some green onions, the really thin ones. I like to put it over here. Let it crystallize a little bit. And then I'm gonna put the tempeh on it. You can put also some garlic. What happened is that people want to start a plant-based only diet or either a flexitarian diet. You decide to eat more vegetables. That's the whole the whole goal, to eat more vegetables, to eat more less from animal produce. So what I always recommend is to try to keep some flavor, as our mouth, as our tongues are used to these so high palatable flavors that the industry give us, very salty, very sweet. When we eat raw vegetables like this is a zucchini or a chard or a parsnip, and we eat it like that, we find that it is tasteless. And we say natural food or the product it has no flavor, it's flavorless, it has no fun, it has no meaning to eat that. No, I want flavor, I want sensation. Okay, so we focus also on teaching that fermented food give us a new dimension of flavor, a new dimension of aroma, and a new dimension of texture. So we see fermented food as a tool to give more flavor to your life. It's a whole culinary experience. And Tempe also, it's the whole culinary experience. It's seeing for us quinoa and lentils in a whole new chapter of our lives. So we kind of caramelize the onions. Over here, we put the marinated tempeh. Okay, so we let it over there. We let it take some color, and we let it absorb of all the liquids, and it's gonna make a whole new different experience of eating this tempeh with banana vinegar. So we're gonna assemble the plate. I'm gonna put the tempeh over here. We're gonna put the bananas. And we have to make the dressing. Just if you don't have fermented food available, you can use sauerkraut also. We make our own sauerkraut. We have more than 30 products on the market. So here in Ecuador. So I have my sauerkraut, which I'm gonna put over here. But if you want to make a dressing, I'm gonna make a quick dressing out of we need olive oil or any oil, extra virgin, preferably. We also make a gut shot. Gut shot is a shot for your gut, and we based it on the juices that runs out of the fermented vegetables. So I have over here some how do you call this? Beterava. Now, remolachas, I just don't remember. If you can help me out, how beterava or remolacha, you say that in English. It is the red tuberculous. So we put the juice, and the juice is very acid. So it's gonna make like a vinegar. It's gonna help you enhance the flavor and absorb. It's gonna let you take more absorption of the nutrients of the food you're gonna have. So I like to put some leeks or ciboulette. Then I have some parsley and cilantro. Either fresh, I have it over here dry. You mix it up. Then you're gonna have some dressing. You can put some salt, you can put some cayenne over here. And I love gomesio. As you can see, I haven't used any salt in this because I have fermented food. The fermented vegetables that I have over here are already salty, so I don't need to put more salt on this. The coconut aminos is a little bit salty, so I don't need to put more salt on this unless I require. I have gomesio. Gomesio, it's a mix of sesame and salt. And I love to eat it with my sweet bananas because it gives a whole new flavor. So this is my plate. You have protein. You have the half of your more of the half of your plate is vegetables only. If you want to see this as a protein source, you can see that everything is more alive and has a source of alive bacteria, digestive enzymes, and you have a whole bunch of protein. 100 grams of quinoa and lentils tempeh, it's gonna provide you 18 grams of biodisponibility, more biodisponibility protein, veggie protein to yourself. So that is my plate. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you see it as beautiful as I see it. And don't hesitate to ask me anything. We are here in Ecuador, in the coast of Ecuador. And we try to ferment the world. So if we can help you, we are here. Thank you.
Thank you, Cata. That was a really fun, healthy, and informative session. And I am sure by now that everyone is inspired to get cooking. And wow, what an incredible session of cooking classes that we got to experience today. Thank you so much to our wonderful chefs. And rest assured, we'll be sending all the recipes out to you after the conference. Now, if you're wondering how to make your own tempeh, well, we got you covered. I'm handing back over to Seth, who will be sharing more about our tempeh making kits, which will be available for purchase soon. Seth, over to you.
Thank you, Mel. And yes, it is time to look at how we can make tempeh in our homes. You know, it's really a pretty easy process. I think a lot of people are put off because of there's this fermented step and everything. But I'll tell you this, if you make tempeh fresh in your home, you will be amazed at it's like next level good. You know, there's great tempeh now in the stores, and I don't mean to knock that at all, but I'm just saying that, we make Tofurky here, and the magic of Tofurky is that it can withstand the vacuum packaging process and taste basically the same on day 120 as it does on day 0. But Tempe, over Indonesia is like love eaten within a day or two, just by the way, because there's all these local processors, and the homemade Tempe is next level good. So how do we do that? Well, the Tempe movement has you covered. We have created, and we have now 91 of these Tempe making home kits where you can make Tempe in your home very easily. And these were going to be going on sale in about a week, and we will let you know when they go on sale. But what's inside of each Tempe kit? And how can you make Tempe at home? Well, the biggest thing that's in every Tempe kit is the soybeans. And these are, let me see if I can get this down here. These are split dehulled soybeans, and you are not going to be able to buy these anywhere in the store. Like they look like little split peas almost, but this is the biggest step and time saver that we can save by these Tempe kits. This is the organic soybeans, and they have the hull removed. The hull is one of the first steps that we need to do when we need to remove the hull when we're making Tempe, because the hull is in there to prevent anything from getting into the seed, and we want to get our culture into the seed to help break down the proteins and the enzymes. So you will get 1.5 pounds of soybeans, which is enough to make approximately 3 pounds of Tempe. So that, Tempe is usually sold in about 8 ounce or 228 grams. You will have about 6 of those packs in a Tempe kit. Also in the Tempe kit, you have this instruction booklet that we have made that has step-by-step instructions. It has information on why eat Tempe. It has some charts. It has frequently asked questions. It has some recipes. And it also has some incubator options, like how to incubate the Tempe. And that is one of the big issues that people have. So we've got you covered there too. We have in each bag a little thermometer here that is something that you can put in an oven. If you have an oven with a light in the oven, which most ovens have, just by turning the oven on, not just by turning the light on in the oven and leaving this thermometer in there, you can reach a temperature of approximately 32 degrees Celsius or 88 degrees very easily. And that is the sweet spot for incubating Tempe, is right around 88 degrees or 32 Celsius. So the nice thing about that is that it's something that you already have in your home. You don't need to buy anything more. You can just make Tempe. You just have to monitor the temperature. I put sometimes a paperback book in the door just to keep it open a little bit so it doesn't overheat, because you don't want to overheat the Tempe. Of course, the fabulous pod Tempe incubators from the Planit protein people are great. And there's a variety of other sort of egg incubators that I've used in the past too that are fairly reasonable on Amazon. Culture is from Planit Protein once again. This is great culture, and you can make all of your 3 pounds of Tempe with this culture. So you get a little pack of culture. You also have these Ziploc bags here that are just the right size for about 6 ounces or 200 grams of Tempe. And, one of the key things about Tempe is having the right airflow. So also included in each of these kits a little pin that is the exact pin size that we like to work with that'll create amazing tempeh. So it's really, you know, with all of this and just a few pots and pans and colander and things that you would have in a normal kitchen, you are set up to make the best tempeh you will ever make. Like, this is some tempeh that I made from this kit, and trying to get it in focus there. It's really amazing when you open it up, how fragrant it smells. It's just like a fresh mushroomy kind of smell. And the taste is just out of this world. Like, the nice thing about this is you can cut the tempeh into very thin strips, like, and it'll hold together. You can see how thin that strip is. That's even a little thick. You know, in Indonesia, a lot of the tempeh, you'll see them cutting it into even smaller pieces, like almost like a potato stick, like this for some of the recipes. And it's really fragrant and wonderful. So these tempeh kits will be going on sale, and they're not just a for-profit thing. We're trying to raise money for the Indonesian tempeh group and Indonesian tempeh movement, but we're also giving $2 out of every kit that's sold to the 1000days.org Indonesian group that is fighting stunting of Indonesian children that affects, like we said, about 1 in 3 children in Indonesia. And you can go online to 1000days.org. It's called 1000 Days because that is the critical time in a child's life when they are most at risk for this stunting. So it's important to get the right nutrition, the right sanitation, and the right care for the child during those first 1000 days. So it's a win-win-win kind of thing. You will help raise money to fight stunting in Indonesia. You will raise money for this fabulous tempeh movement who has put this conference on, and you'll be making some of the best tempeh that you have ever made in your life and that you've ever tasted. Once you've tasted fresh tempeh, you'll be either on the plane to Indonesia or you'll be making it as a habit with the help of one of these incubators or just making it in your oven. And that's how I fell in love with tempeh in 1977, which was out in a field. Actually, I was living in a tent at the time, and we made tempeh out there in the Tennessee heat. Tennessee is sort of the Indonesia of the US and as far as climate goes, and the temperature was just perfect. But when I had it, man, it was like love at first bite, and I just haven't stopped loving tempeh. I couldn't love it more. And even though we make great tempeh here at the Tofurky company, and I have access to it, I'll still make tempeh at home and really enjoy it. I just love the process, and I love the freshness that you can do in your home. And there's other tempeh kits all around the world, but this is the most complete tempeh kit that you can ever buy, and I'm really pleased with the way it came out. These instructions are full of a lot of questions and how you can make tempeh out of any grain too. That's covered in these discussions. So you don't just necessarily have to use soy. A lot of people use lentil, chana dal, and garbanzo beans. And, you know, that's the great thing about tempeh is that you can make it out of so many different ways and so many different combinations. It's so creative. So you may not be able to find quinoa, brown rice, mung bean, tempeh in the store, but by golly, you can go to the supermarket aisle in the bulk bins and take home some combination of beans and grains and whip up amazing tempeh like John and the Squirrel and Crow people and the Tempeh Makers Facebook group talks about. So it's a creative, fun hobby, and I encourage you to get some of these kits going and share them with your friends. They make nice gifts. Christmas is coming. How many days left we got? We only got 6 months left. Mel, I know you do your Christmas shopping early, right? Have you got it all done?
I know these Tempe kits are definitely going to be on there. And thanks so much for explaining it. They look incredible. And I think it's a hobby that everyone should pick up. So at this point, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's participated in today's Tempethon 2021. We're so excited to be sharing the world's best superfood with you. And I hope that this event has inspired you to incorporate more tempeh into your day-to-day recipes, and that you enjoyed our informative innovation panel and fun cooking classes. As a reminder, this week you'll be receiving the recipe cards featuring all the recipes included in today's events so that you can try them out at home. Please do tag us on social media if you try out the recipes. We would love to see your tempeh journey. We will also be sharing links to purchase the excellent tempeh making kits that Seth just explained, proceeds of which will go towards supporting charity. And if you enjoyed today's event, we certainly encourage you to follow along with our mission. You can find more detail at www.tempehmovement.com. We have plenty more exciting things coming in 2021, and we're so glad that you can be part of the journey with us. Now it's time for our prize draw. We have 5 copies of the Tempeh Cookbook by Dorothy R. Bates for 5 lucky attendees. We've selected the winners randomly from all of the attendees, and we'll be contacting you after the event so that we can send you your wonderful prize that Seth is kindly sharing on screen. So drum roll, please. The 5 winners of this competition are Sarah Spear, Mary Finch, Ryan McNally, Carolyn Moore, and Matthew Youngblood. I really hope that I pronounced all of your names correctly, but we will be getting in touch with you over the next few days. And then now, as a bonus, Seth will also be sharing a signed copy of his incredible book, In Search of the Wild Tofurky. It's a fascinating insight into his journey of building Tofurky. And we're so honored that he could co-host this event today, as he really is the OG of the plant-based movement. So another drum roll, please. My imaginary drum roll here. The winner of Seth's signed book is Diane Tilmer. Congratulations to all of our winners today. And don't forget, the links to all books and speakers will be shared after the conference. So thank you again for joining Tempethon 2021. Seth, I don't know if you've got any other comments you want to say to our wonderful attendees.
I wanted to plug your book, Mel, which is The Tropical Kitchen, and it's got tempeh recipes. This is the first vegan cookbook ever published about Indonesian cooking. Is that right?
Yeah, first vegan Indonesian cookbook, and very healthy too.
And that is available wherever fine books are sold. Is that right?
Yeah, you can buy it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or Apple Books, but all the details are on my website, which is www.melaniaedwards.com.
Right. And I'm just looking at the comments. It looks like a lot of people loved the Tempethon, and we loved putting it on. I will be answering any questions live. I know there was some questions about the pods. Stephen Dupuis, are you still with us? Do you want to talk about where the pods will be sold? I think they were asking Europe, Italy. We had a couple questions.
Yeah, it is going. Yeah, it will be available overseas. I think it's first starting in the States. They definitely have plans for it going international. So how soon will it be right after the launch? I'm not sure, but they definitely have it in the works for international.
Good. So that is.
And I should also point out that I think one of the things that you brought up too is temperature control, and Squirrel and Crow brought that up too. That is one of the things the machine does, is controls the temperature. So if the tempeh gets too warm, then it's going to cool itself down by fans. So it's fans and heaters are constantly keeping that temperature always at that 88 degrees.
Oh yeah, and that's such an important part of making good tempeh, and something that you have wired. I mean, solving that problem is huge.
Well, it only took 8 years. So, but at the same time, those 8 years, I mean, when we talk about 8 years ago to where we are now, it's fabulous that we have all these passionate people that are into tempeh, and the tempeh movement is growing. So in a way, we kind of had to wait for it to become something, for something like this to be desirable. So, I'm just so grateful that you guys put this whole thing on, and we have all these passionate people here that are sharing such amazing stuff. It's really great to see.
Yeah, Stephen, I had a question in the chat or in the Q&A about B12 in tempeh, and I don't know what your experience is or study it, but in the testing I've done, some has more than others, and different batches have more than others. So I don't think that you can assume that you would be getting your B12 from tempeh, is where I've come.
I'm kind of in that same camp. Yeah.
So it's probably still something that as a vegan, you should just take a tablet and get it that way. But there has been some movement towards people trying to standardize B12 in tempeh, because I know that's been associated with it early on. So I think that day is coming, but it's not here right now.
Yes, absolutely.
Good.
Great.
And I think that may be all of the, how do we order Stephen's incubator for commercial use? Do you want to talk about that?
Well, yes. I mean, actually, just we do have on our website, give us your name and number, and we'll just keep a database. We're keeping a database of those that want them. And so as soon as we know when the release date's going to be, we'll be giving everybody notice of that. So yeah, we'll probably be able to start pre-order soon. As soon as Waring gives us the actual date, then we'll probably do a pre-order. So one of the interesting things on that is that it's taking some extra time for food safety. I mean, that's been one of the big things that, when you talk about incubator, which is incubating at that 80, 90 degrees, that's not an area that health food safety people really enjoy when they walk into a commercial kitchen. So like a sous vide and so forth is doing that temperature. And so these products have to be monitored really closely. And so there's going to be an ability for you to, on your cell phone, know exactly what temperature the machine was at a certain time. And so that's what's needed in a commercial kitchen. The home unit probably will not have that, but the commercial unit would.
Yeah. Great stuff. And I can't wait to see that out on the market. I think that's.
We can't either. I'll tell you.
Yeah, I'm sure you can. But I think at this point, it's great to see in the question and answers. Let's see, what do we have? We have plastic bags versus silicone molds for incubation. What's the cons of silicone molds? Have any comment on that? I mean, seems like silicone molds, I've seen them used in the tempeh makers. I've never used them myself, but I think they'd be fine.
That's an interesting one. I mean, that's almost one that I'd even want to experiment with even in the pod, because we're doing stainless steel trays.
Yeah. That's the other nice thing though about tempeh is you can grow it into different shapes. I made what I call tempeh yin yangs. I made these like little shapes, like a yin yang, and because why do you need like a drumstick or some kind of animal part? You know, we can make our own designs out of tempeh. So you can grow it into all these shapes, which is pretty cool. So
which is really neat about like the tempeh kit that you're having. I mean, it is neat that you can experiment. Like you can try different beans, you can try different grains. It's amazing what you can ferment. And that was what we got excited about with the pod, is that you can start experimenting. You can just say, I'm going to try 6 different things and put them in 6 different trays and stick them in there. And all of a sudden you got all these things coming out. I mean, yes, you got to wait the 23 hours, but you can really start creating things that you never thought you could create with it. And it's the same with the tempeh kit that you're selling there, is that you can put it in that plastic bag and you can put any kind of thing in there. And it's really neat to see something you've created and grown, so to speak.
Right. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming today. And, you know, this has been such a great event to be part of. And I think that it's the start of a tempeh community here. You know, I really feel like, just like tempeh is bound together by the mycelium of the culture, that today is the start of bonding this whole community. We're sort of wound together here, people that are kind of the early adopters of tempeh, and that we're now carrying this message out into the world. And we rise together and we incubate together. So we're going to incubate this community. Please follow the tempehmovement.com, #tempehmovement. And when you spell tempeh, it's Tempe, which is the Indonesian spelling.
Thank you, everyone.